What's good? What's good? It's your boy, your favorite doctor, back at it again, here to bring more knowledge, pain, death, and inspiration. I'm going to continue the series talking about magical herbology and magical herbs and shit. Today, I kind of want to talk about a couple of things. One, the herbs themselves and the environment that you can find them in, how to use that to your advantage. And also, near the end, I'm going to give a little bit of inspiration for like the younger folk, those young at heart, younger necromancers, that kind of thing. So, start off, the thing about your environment and herbs. Different herbs is going to have different properties when they're grown next to certain environments. So, for example, let's just use Datura as an example. Datura grown by a funeral home is going to be more potent than just Datura by itself. Or you could say nightshade, belladonna, any other poisonous herb is going to be more potent when it's grown by places of death or found in places of mass death like battlefields, you know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. For example, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the plants there and plants by Chernobyl, that kind of thing, magically are going to be much more fucking potent than just the plants by themselves grown in a normal environment, like a garden, you know what I'm saying, order online, that kind of thing. The reason is because of the energies of the events that happened in those areas in the past and what those certain corporations and buildings and environments represent. For example, banks, you look at some banks and they have most generally roses, at least around where I live. They have a lot of roses around these different places. So knowing that, you're not going to only have the energies of love because it's a rose, but you're also going to have the energies of prosperity, material success, wealth, that kind of thing by nature of the bank that the rose bush is blooming by. Feel me? Now, this gets a little bit more complicated when you start going into shit like, finding different plants curled around trees and shit, or where the tree was like thunderstruck and all that. That's going to yield an entirely different force to the plant itself by nature of, one, the lightning, representing the force of the gods, higher power, divine crowning, so to speak. And that tree that is struck with the thunder is going to transfer those qualities and capabilities, plus that of earth and grounding and all that good shit, to whatever plant you find there, thus enhancing it and bestowing upon it divine properties, divine power, that kind of thing. This goes into different plants that you see that correspond with various gods and goddesses. The reason is not only because the smell attracts that divine force to you, but that plant has divine properties associated with that being. You see where I'm coming from? When you're working with these, you have to have the insight and the foresight and also the logical knowledge of the correspondences to know and be able to predict, okay, this plant was found in this circumstance, therefore is going to have this kind of effect, or I can use it to create this kind of oil spill or what have you, There are many different variables that come across like this. For example, if you're trying to do a breakup spell, or you're trying to cause jealousy or arguments or whatever, you might find a rose that has more thorns than what a normal rose has. That's nature calling out to you. That's the spirits calling out to you, saying, hey, you can use this. You might find an entirely healthy rose bush, but there's always that one rose that's withered or partially withered. You can also, in some cases, find plants that are completely dead, yet they still keep growing. That's especially potent in works of undeath, reanimation, and also for providing strength to your own being, because it represents those who are dead but not vanquished, because there is a difference. It represents a natural strength, being able to endure and blossom in places that are dry financially, as well as in other cases, like a desert, I've walked around my city a few times, and I've seen, when it was hot as fuck, seen this beautiful plant sprouting out in the middle of the ground. You can take that as an omen, you know, about your own life, your own well-being, your own future. You're going to blossom despite the environmental circumstances. When you get deeper into this kind of thing, you start to really see the symbolism. You start to be able to communicate with plant spirits in this symbolic manner, in this divinatory manner. Then you can judge your actions and the actions of others accordingly. You know what action to take or what not to take. When it comes to necromancy and really working with herbs, there's a lot of different gnosis, insight, and variables that you can attain through working with this. Of course, doing it the right way, you know what I'm saying, and all that. Certain plants will start to speak to you, and you start to develop a resonance with them. And as you work with them more, you become more and more and more powerful. And you start to gain even deeper insight and gnosis onto what plants go together and what plants do not go together, and even some very unorthodox combinations. For example, just as the rose can cause love, it can also end love as well. As much as it can break up relationships, it can bring people back together and bring about reconciliation. You feel me? It can be used for works of manipulation, for binding the heart, so to speak, or binding the mind. It can be used on people who are susceptible to bouts of emotion. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. There's so many different things that these plants can be used for. You just have to have the insight to see and to know what can be done with it. On that end, I'm kind of going to end the magical herbology there. But I really want to talk to the young folks, like the teens, the fucking young adults, that kind of thing. In life, as you go throughout your path, you know, fucking with necromancy or whatever it is that you do, you're going to experience a lot. Some of you, 14, 15, 16 and up, have already experienced different life lessons, like knowing that the Christian religion is bullshit, or that all people don't suck, you know, that kind of thing. And you're developing a wisdom about you, about how to interact with people, how to interact with your environment, how to manipulate, that kind of thing. As was said by a person in the Measurian Cabal, I believe it was the Ascended, the new AGM, he was saying age does not define wisdom, which is very true. You can have some 70-year-old motherfucker that act like a fucking child, or you can have a 14-year-old acting much better and much wiser than most adults ever will. You feel me? So don't underestimate your capabilities. Don't underestimate your own self. Don't underestimate what you learned. And most importantly, don't waste your wisdom on deaf ears. Like, if you're trying to teach somebody, maybe it's one of your friends, your homies, or whatever. If you're trying to teach somebody magic and you're giving them exact instructions and they choose to go and alter the shit because of some crap they read on Google, that's on them if they get destroyed. That's not on you, because you did your part. A person's job, if you're the one giving the wisdom, is to simply contemplate it and choose to accept it or reject it. Wisdom is not there to be altered, so to speak. Wisdom is I don't want to say unalterable, but is a uncompromising mental substance, so to speak. It's like nourishment. It's like bread for the mind. And throughout your years, especially your young adult years, you're going to come to realize a lot of things about the way planet Earth works, about the way society works, and all this other kind of shit. And everything you see is not going to be able to be shared. Not so much for the information, but because most people cannot handle that kind of thing. For example, there's people watching my videos on necromancy, they cannot handle the fucking information at all, because it goes against their conception about what's allowed to be talked about on the internet. You know what I'm saying? Because if you notice, a lot of people are not going in depth into this as I am. And so And that's to protect them, is to protect their minds. If you're familiar with shit like the fucking SCP universe and shit, you know that there are info hazards, that certain information causes more harm than good, just plain and simple. And so, as you go along your paths in necromancy and shit like that up into your adult years, you have to think. You have to be intelligent with this shit. Necromancy is not a path that has room for idiots and morons. Necromancy is a path that has room for those who are intelligent. This might not seem like that way on the surface, because it seems like, just anybody can go to a fucking graveyard and cast a death hex or some shit like that. But there's a deep intellectual component to it. There's a deep mental aspect to the thing. And the pathways of the dead are not just formed through secret routes and shit. It's also formed through the mind. And as a necromancer, you're going to be challenged mentally on your ability to not only discern wisdom and the right course of action, but to determine it for your own self. Because the dead are not going to hand you all their secrets on a fucking silver platter. That's where your mind and your own intellectual ability comes in. Which also relates to how you interact with society. Again, magical sociology, so to speak. Knowing your own self. Because if you know yourself, you can gain a general idea of the selves of other people. And know how to manipulate them as such. Or how not to manipulate them as such. The dead have various lessons to teach the young necromancer. And some of these lessons could be called cruel, or it could be seen as a ticket, a fast track to untold wisdom if you choose to learn, take responsibility for whatever lesson it is that you're learning, and progress from there. Some of this shit is on the spiritual level, i.e. magical warfare. Maybe you're afflicted with various illnesses or whatever, various mental, cognitive illnesses that you have to work through and figure out, okay, I can counterbalance this energy with this energy. Maybe it's on the more material level with your relationships. Somebody finds out you're into necromancy, your girlfriend leaves you. You feel me? The lesson there could be, you do not have pity for the weak at all. Because it's not your fault if they cannot handle what it is that you practice. That's why necromancy is not for everybody. But those who do walk it, you see there's a consistent record throughout the path of necromantic history to where those who truly walk this path and learn the lessons and gain the wisdom and the mastery, they become figures of fucking legend, yo. They become legends into and of themselves. And the greatest lesson that you can learn, at least in this plane, is death. How death operates, how it moves, that kind of thing. And in that, if your heart chakra is in the right place and you got the proper motivation, you'll learn, for example, when is and when is not the right time to attempt to cheat death. Because you'll gain those spells, those rituals, those sigils necessary to extend your own lifetime, to form pacts to where if you die, you're instantly revived, how to bring back another person from the dead, that kind of thing. But as one of my lightworker friends told me, not every piece of trash is worth keeping. Every person that you hex and kill successfully is not worth bringing back. Because what if you bring them back and then you lose control over them? Now you got a whole other situation you got to deal with. You feel me? It's so many different variables and so many different things that go into this art of necromancy. It's not just about, once again, it's not just about death hexing people. It's not just about the rot, the wraiths, the spirits of the dead, etc. It's about wisdom and self-growth as well, which is something that's really lost among even older necromancers, older master necromancers and shit. Like, I'm going to just kind of dive into this topic. Mastery is not just about having control of an aspect of your craft. It's also about controlling the self. That's why you must know yourself. You need to know your body, your soul, the inner machinations of your mind, your spirit, that kind of thing. Because you can have some shit creep up on you that you're not prepared for, and now you're looking like the fucking loser, and your body is wasting away all because you didn't understand yourself. You ain't understand the basic principles of biology, how disease forms, how necrosis forms, how fucking neurotoxins operate. You feel me? On the mental level, you underestimated the dead. You underestimated your enemy. You underestimated your own potential for health and recovery and immortality, that kind of thing. And you made a small mistake, a tiny mistake, and then now you're just out there. You feel me? So for you young necromancers that might be watching this, like, especially during this time frame with the coronavirus and all, introspect, frequent introspection. Think about shit. Think about your own life. Think about yourself, how you can better yourself, how you can upgrade yourself. Pump out self-upgrades like Apple pumps out new iPhones. That is the key to sanity, and that is the key to survival. Because necromancy is very much a path of evolution, like of the Darwinian type. And if you're being stupid with this shit, if you're constantly underestimating motherfuckers, if you're constantly challenging people and not working on your own self, you're going to be eliminated. You can look at what's going on in the world today. People are being eliminated left and right just for being stupid, you know? For, as my light worker friend said, for lacking intelligent thought. And it's the same exact way in this path. Set yourself up a routine. Set yourself up a meditative routine to where you can work your body, your mind, and your spirit. You can constantly get stronger physically, spiritually, psychically, etc. So you can keep yourself ahead of the game. Like I'm talking on some really primal, like predatory type shit, but it's necessary in order to get to where you need to be. To crush the competition to the point where there is no competition because nobody else can think the way you think. Nobody else can have the essence or the creative insight and combination of knowledge that you carry, you know? That way if somebody tries to fucking rip off one of your business ideas or rip off a particular spell, you already know they're going to fail. Because they don't have the initiations, they don't have none of the other kind of shit that you have that's uniquely yours. In addition to setting yourself a routine, how can I put it? It's not even so much learning to keep silent, but you have to simply stay in the shadows and watch. Watch people, watch what they say, watch what they do, read them, watch how they think, and how that affects you and how your actions affect them. Feel me? Watch the spirits that you see around certain people, how they react to the environment and all that. You can learn so much from this simple observation practice. It is crazy, yo. It is fucking crazy. And you will come to understand so much that can help you in your necromantic path. Above all, you know, for you young folk, keep going. Simple as that. Don't betray your spirits. Don't fucking dip out on them in times of struggle. Don't fucking do none of that shit. Stay faithful. Do what you must do to survive, but stay faithful nonetheless. And when you pass that test of dedication and devotion and all that, you'll have a more permanent bond with your spirits, and most importantly, more permanent resonance with your own self, your own being. You'll come to understand the way you work more and more. And then you can extract those general and universal principles to understand how other people outside of your own self and your own spirit work. That kind of thing. Then you can plot things from there. You feel me? So with that being said, I'm going to conclude this video. I know it was kind of short, but hopefully you got some wisdom out of that. If you enjoyed it, like, share, subscribe. Check out my Patreon and all the other crap I'm supposed to say. So stay safe, beware the zombies, and I will bring to you all another video tomorrow. Deuces.